Sam Mitchell's Kim Metcalf latest EastEnders stint has shown her grow to be more caring, more willing to be vulnerable and more loyal than ever before. The old chaotic, manipulative Sam is still very much there. Just evolved, Kim said, and Max Branning, Jake Wood, is about to discover just how devious the Mitchell princess can be. Max's suspicions are raised next week about some potentially dodgy goings-on at the car lot. Of course, he's quite right to be suspicious because Mark Fowler Jr., Stephen Aaron Sipple, is funneling stolen motors through the place. When Max discovers a ruck of vintage cars from his premises have been found burnt out in a quarry, he questions his daughter-cum-business partner, Lauren Jacqueline Jassa, over what's going on. Being well aware of Mark's propensity for car-related crime, Lauren immediately heads for him and asks him if he's involved. Luckily for Mark, Auntie Sam is on hand to provide a sturdy, but false alibi. She's a Mitchell. She's not turning into Mary Poppins overnight, Kim explains. This week, her survival instinct kicks in, and as a mother she understands exactly what buttons might influence Lauren, and how to use that to help Mark. Why is Kim so determined to protect her newly discovered nephew? Sam really understands Mark. She sees beyond the bravado and the lashing out to his vulnerability underneath, and she recognizes how abandoned he's felt by Grant. No stranger to parent-child tiffs, having abandoned her son Ricky Frankie Day on a number of occasions, she has some expertise in the subject which she's willing to share with both Mark and Grant. She's never judgmental with him. She tries to support Mark, while also helping Grant understand that it's not about big promises, it's about simply showing up. At his core, Mark just wants to be loved by his dad, and that anger comes from everything Grant wasn't there for. Sam's manipulation turns Lauren firmly against her dad, who she accuses of adding a criminal element to their legitimate business. Max is deeply wounded by his daughter's accusations while, outside of the car lot, Mark continues to attempt to coerce Lauren into joining forces in a car scam. Having worked his magic on her, a stolen car arrives at the car lot the following day, but Max is skeptical and turns to his copper brother, Jack Branning, Scott Maslin, to investigate Mark. Jack does manage to unearth some shady information, but convinces Max to withhold what he knows from Lauren for the moment. With Max under serious pressure from his former criminal gang to repay his debt, he enlists Priya Nandrahart, Sophie Conlevy, to gain access to the car lot safe, but decides against it, not before dropping his keys though. When Max finds the keys later in the week, he too turns to Priya for answers. Will Sam be forced to intervene again on Mark's behalf? The rain hammered down on Albert Square as tension spread through Walford like wildfire. Inside the Vic, whispers circled between locals, each one carrying the same name on their lips, Max. For weeks, Max Branning had walked around like he owned the square again. Ever since returning to Walford, he'd inserted himself into everyone's business, manipulating situations behind the scenes while pretending to be the concerned father and loyal friend. But people were beginning to notice the cracks in his act. And one person had finally had enough. Sam Mitchell stood outside the cafe, staring across the square with fury burning in her eyes. She had spent days piecing together the truth, and now she knew exactly what Max had done. He used me, she muttered under her breath. That snake actually used me. Inside number 27, Jack paced anxiously while Denise watched from the kitchen doorway. You sure about this? Denise asked carefully. Jack nodded grimly. Sam says she's got proof. Real proof. And if she goes public? Jack exhaled heavily. Then Max is finished. The trouble had started months earlier when Max secretly became involved in a dodgy property deal connected to the car lot redevelopment. Desperate for money and power, he'd manipulated several residents into signing contracts they barely understood. Sam had unknowingly helped him by introducing investors through her old contacts. But when payments started disappearing and forged signatures surfaced, Sam realized Max had set her up to take the blame if everything collapsed. Now the police were asking questions. Meanwhile, Max remained completely unaware that the walls were closing in around him. At Harry's barn he sat confidently with Lauren, sipping coffee while pretending everything was normal. You seem happy, Lauren observed cautiously. Max smirked. Business is finally working out. Lauren frowned. Funny, because people are saying things. People always say things. No, Dad. Serious things. Max's expression darkened slightly. You listening to gossip now? Before Lauren could answer, the doors burst open. Sam stormed inside. Every head turned instantly. Well, Sam snapped loudly. Looks like I found the liar. Max froze. Sam, he said calmly. Not here. Oh no, we're doing this right here. The atmosphere became electric as customers quietly stepped back. You forged documents in my name, Sam accused. You moved money through my accounts and planned to leave me carrying the blame when it all blew up. Max laughed nervously. You sound ridiculous. Do I? Sam pulled a folder from her handbag and slammed it onto the table. Bank transfers, emails, fake contracts. Everything leads back to you. Lauren looked horrified. Dad, tell me this isn't true. Max stood up sharply. She's twisting things. But Sam wasn't finished. You thought nobody would notice, she continued. You thought you could destroy lives and walk away again. Max's calm mask finally cracked. You don't understand how deep this goes, he hissed. Oh, I understand perfectly, Sam shot back. And so will the police. Panic flashed across Max's face for the first time. The entire barn had fallen silent. Then came the moment nobody expected. Lauren stepped away from her father, she whispered. Lauren. No. Every single time you come back here, you ruin everything. Max tried reaching for her, but she backed away in disgust. Across the square, news spread within minutes. By evening, the Vic buzzed with speculation. Typical Max, Stacy muttered bitterly behind the bar. Man leaves destruction everywhere he goes. Kat shook her head. And he thought he'd get away with it. Upstairs, Sam met privately with Jack and Callum. You sure you want to do this? Callum asked gently. Sam nodded firmly. I'm done protecting men like him. Jack opened the folder again. This evidence could bury him. That's the idea. But downstairs, Max was already spiraling. Drinking alone near the bar. He glared at everyone around him. The whispers. The judgmental looks. The smug expressions. He couldn't stand it. When Phil entered the pub, Max immediately confronted him. You enjoying the show? Max snarled. Phil looked unimpressed. You brought this on yourself. She's lying. Phil smirked coldly. Funny thing is, nobody believes you anymore. That cut deeper than Max expected. For years, Max had survived scandals, affairs, and betrayals. Somehow he always found a way back. But this time felt different. Even the people closest to him were walking away. Later that night, Max returned home to find Lauren packing a bag. What are you doing? He asked quietly. I'm leaving. You can't seriously believe Sam. Lauren turned to face him, tears filling her eyes. I wanted to believe you. I really did. But everywhere you go, people get hurt. Max's face softened desperately. I did this for the family. No, Lauren replied. You did it for yourself. The words hit like a knife. For a moment, Max looked completely broken. But things were about to get worse. A loud knock rattled the front door. Jack stood outside with 2 police officers. Max immediately understood. You've got to be kidding me. Jack's expression stayed cold. Max Branning, we need you to come with us regarding fraud and financial misconduct. Lauren gasped quietly. Max looked around helplessly, realizing there was no escape this time. Then his eyes landed on Sam, standing across the square beneath the streetlight. She didn't look angry anymore. She looked satisfied. Max clenched his jaw as the officer stepped forward. This isn't over, he warned. Sam folded her arms. No, Max, she replied calmly. It finally is. The square watched in stunned silence as Max was led toward the police car. His downfall unfolding in front of everyone he'd ever manipulated. Whispers echoed through the night. Some felt shocked. Others felt relieved. But one thing was certain. Walford would never look at Max Branning the same way again. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to EastEnders Spoilers Official.